Children, I have two that I sent through the Wasatch School District system already. They've graduated, and I have two coming through the system now. And the two that have already graduated with class sizes of 300 to 400. And their experiences that they had were amazing at Wasatch High School, and the opportunities that they were able to have were amazing. And they had such a positive high school life that they still talk about to this day. My two that are coming through the school system right now, I have a freshman and a 7th grader. And right now the freshman class is in the 600s. So sadly, with when we do build the new schools, I'm not sure how much they'll really get to have the experience of the smaller class sizes like their siblings did. But I do hope that they will have the opportunities that their older siblings had. So I appreciate the proposal of this new bond. I support it. I do know that the school board, you as a school board, have looked at the surveys for floodplains, the safety of the locations, and I trust in your decision in the location that you have chosen. And I do know that safety is your #1 concern for our students, and I appreciate that as a parent so much. I do know that 40 is not a road that I want my kids traveling on, even though they make the right turn into the, if that land was, a proposed a high school, then still I would not want them traveling on that road. So I appreciate the safety aspect of your decisions. I have been involved with volunteer work with the school district for 10 years, and I know each and every one of you, and I trust you. I trust the decisions that you make. I trust the superintendent. I trust Keith Johansson and his business decisions. And I appreciate you, and I just want you to know that you have my support.
Rachel, that was 5. I just wanted, anybody comment at this point? Okay, sorry.
Yeah. To Mr. Duke. And for 2 years we've been talking about this, and I knew what, and if it passes, I know what it'll do to our taxes, and that bothers me. And I wish there was something we could do, especially for retired people, that they didn't have to shoulder as much as a working person does. I don't know that there's a solution to that. My parents are here, they're retired. My in-laws are here, they're retired. I have brothers, sisters, brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws. I have 2 kids that own homes now. And I have to go to them and say, oh, by the way, because of one of the decisions that we made, your taxes are going up. And I don't like that at all. But I still feel at the end of the day, it's the best decision for the whole. And yes, it's hard to swallow that pill that our taxes could go up if it passes, but it's been with a lot of thought and effort that we make these decisions, and I wish I had a better answer of what it will do to you long term, but I thought about it a lot, and it affects me and it affects those I love, but I still think it's the best decision.
My name is Rachel Labram, 1865 South Wall Street in Heber. I graduated from Saguaro High School in Scottsdale, Arizona with 800 students. Part of our reason moving here with my husband years ago is because I didn't want my kids to go to a school and be with 800 other, I felt like a number there. It was fine, but I didn't know until I came here, and my 2 girls have had great experiences so far. They know their principal. I don't even know who my principal was. Not a clue. It was just went to school. I loved the experience my girls have had right now. They won't even get to experience the new school, and I'm still for it because I love our community. I know education is important. So I hate taxes, just like you guys. We pay double because we have a business too, so we're paying, but I think there's no better place to put our money than to education. Education helps our whole community, even if our kids personally aren't going to go to it. It might be our grandkids or friends or down the road, but I support the school bond and I support education.
Hi, my name is Brooke Mayer. I live at 1970 South 440 East. And since we're kind of talking about numbers, and I just would ask that people in a different situation than myself could try to see where I'm coming from, and try to remember when you had your first child enter kindergarten. The class of 2032 just started, and they're so cute, and one of them is mine. And so thank you for all day kindergarten. He's coming home and he's blending his sounds and he's bebopping and touching his chin, and he's so far ahead of where he would have been. So thank you for all day kindergarten last year. But nonetheless, I have a little boy, class of 2032, that, you know, I'm a homeowner, and my parents and my in-laws will both, they will be retired soon, and I understand the cost, and I really empathize with that. And before I had my own children, or maybe before I had my own kindergartner that would benefit from this, I might have thought, you know, we can have a solution to our problem, that someone else, you know, we need to save money, we need to cut corners, but I'm telling you that my kid isn't worth cutting corners for. And if my child's not worth cutting corners for, that means his classmates aren't worth cutting corners for. And I just would ask the public to view it from that my child is going to benefit, your little kids that are playing in your neighborhood are going to benefit, and ultimately they're going to build a community that's going to take care of us, and I want nothing but the best for them. And I understand many aspects, but my kid's worth it, and so his classmates are worth it.
Sean Kelly, 135 South 100 West in Midway. I can tell you that I have a unique situation. I was both the principal of Midway Elementary and Wasatch High School. I might be the only guy alive that can say that. The reason I bring that up is because I want to tell you that after 17 years of being in those two schools, a couple of things I want to talk to you about. And maybe especially for the public. And in my time at the high school, it grew 1,000 kids. And that's a lot. And one of the things that I think we're missing here tonight, as a principal, it made a big deal to me to know every kid. And for those kids to know. And I'm going to tell you, what price do we put on a kid's mental health or suicide? And I'm not saying that we're not ever going to have suicide, but I'm going to tell you that our counselors and teachers and principals are maxed. And what if we're saving a kid? What are we going to place on that? A tank of gas? I think this might cost me $200 a year. I'm not a rich man, but I'll tell you, I'll give you $200 right now if we can save some kid. Because what price do we put on that? And the way we help kids is we have smaller schools, so that counselors and teachers and administrators like myself can walk down the hall and know when a kid's hurting. To see in his eyes and say, I know you and I know you're not right. Come here, let's have a talk. What are we placing on that? We cannot wait. When we wait, we're going to have more money. It's going to cost more. There's always going to be an older population. I'm getting older. The next time we bond, I'll be a retired guy. I'll still vote for it because I know what small schools do. I have the experience. I spent 17 years in schools. I know what small schools do for kids. I'll give you 200 bucks. I'll give you $500 if it helps a kid be successful. Because someday I might need to go to the doctor, and that kid that knew me in school is going to take extra good care of me. I believe that. So thank you. We cannot wait. We have to do it now. We have to have a small school. Construction costs are going up. Now's the time.
Good evening, board members. My name is Kimo Paulson. I live at 1760 Lost Gold. If I can remember them, I have 4 questions. First, not only are you the largest employer, but you're one of the largest landowners in Wasatch County. And I'm wondering, or asking for clarification, on how funds from property sales are used. And and if those are used to pay down bonds. For example, the recent high school that was brought down, how was that, those monies used? If the Midway Elementary goes away and is sold off or repurposed, the West Campus or other land that is owned by the county, or excuse me, the school district, is sold, is there a mechanism for using those funds to pull down, draw down the bonds? The second question I have has to do with the operating funds of the district. Can you put a number on the dollar increase and also the percentage increase in the district operating funds for starting a new high school and how that will impact the taxpayers? The third question is kind of along with that. Right now, I think it was said that the population, the student population at Wasatch High School is 2,400 students. When the school is built, however numbers, how many years that is, what will be the population of those two high schools as far as students? If there's 2,400 now, are we pulling it down to 1,200 each one if we did it tomorrow? Or what is the projected growth? And then the last question, or maybe comment, is when it says over at your chart, what will it cost me? And it had starting at a $100,000 home. I'm not sure if there's any $100,000 homes, but I think you might move that graph down a little bit to start at maybe the medium-priced home, so it's a better, realistic demonstration of what that cost will be. And since I have a little bit of time, I'd like to thank Rachel Abram for offering on Danny's behalf to pay double taxes, changing from 10 to 20,000. And I'm very sorry that you knew one of my kids very well and by name. And lastly, we moved here 11 years ago, and every one of my kids has been in a new school with great teachers. So it has been inexpensive for me, and I really appreciate the work you guys are doing. Thank you.
My name is Todd Johnson, and I live at 4485 Lake Creek Farms Road. And I follow Sean Kelly as principal of Wasatch High School, and I'm principal there right now. I just want to communicate my support for the general vision of what we're trying to accomplish here with respect to the layout of the building. That hasn't really been spoken to much. And as you can see from the renderings, the floor plan is the same as the building we're in right now. And I participated in meeting with the architect as a teacher, as the architect went through and asked the teachers what optimal learning space would look like for them. And a new design was built, an award-winning design, and now we're planning to replicate that. I think that's not only efficient, but I think it's visionary in what we're trying to accomplish. So I'd just like to speak to how the floor plan of this building, and if voted for, this new building is inclusive to students and their education. It's the best floor plan in the state for providing opportunities for students. Not only are the classroom spaces well thought out, but the commons area is genius. When we opened this building 11 years ago, there were just over 1,300 students there. Now we're double that size, and the bigger we grow, the less the building is able to accomplish its purpose. It's already been spoken tonight that participation and opportunity declines with increased number within the same floor plan. If we could get these schools back down to 1,300 or 1,400 students, where we were when this school opened, there are more opportunities for students and the educational value increases. So those are my thoughts right now. I just want to comment on how well thought out this is. The last thing that I want to say on this is following the model of what we've seen in Utah in both Cache County and Washington County makes a lot of sense, and having the courage to come forward and keep our schools at about that 13 or 1400 size, which we feel is the best for educating high school students. Makes a lot of sense. And I just am very much in support for the genius of this plan. Thank you very much.
I'm going to hold, that's last, just hold a minute. Comments? I just wanted to make a comment on the capital maintenance and operations. There are two funds for the school district: capital, which is for buildings, and well, Keith helped me out with that. Primarily it's for buildings, purchasing land, equipment.
Anything that's a capital nature.
Does maintenance come out of that? That does also. So buying sites, buildings is the majority of what our capital fund balance does. So when we sell a school site, like where the old school was, that money would go into the capital, which would allow us to buy other sites or help build buildings.
We bought the 20 acres that Timpanogos Middle School's on with that, and other sites as well. So that when we bonded for Timpanogos Middle School, we didn't have to bond for land on that site.
As far as Midway, and the specifics can't be published at this time because it's not closed, but we did an agreement with the landowner where we are going to build Midway Elementary and we're doing a swap. And there will be some cost extra for that. There were appraisals done on both properties, and so that's not going to cost us as much because there was a land swap involved with that. So that's capital. Our maintenance and operation budget goes strictly for teachers' salaries, for benefits, for maintenance of our buildings, and I believe 90%.
72.
No, I'm just talking about overall.
90% goes towards benefits.
90% of our maintenance operation goes towards salaries and benefits for our teachers. One thing that is interesting, I'm going to actually let the superintendent talk about what we do cost per student in this district, if you'll, as published by the Utah Taxpayers Association. So I think it's relevant.
We've heard from a source or two that there is concern that the school district is not being frugal with the taxpayers' money. We just want to share one statistic that kind of bears out that they are in fact in line and in line much better than a lot of other school districts with their spending. If we just kind of follow a scenario, I think most of you know that Utah is dead last, 51 out of 51 states, including Washington, D.C., on their per pupil spending for education. As far as the state goes, there are 41 public school districts, and Wasatch School District's per pupil spending hits about right in the middle. Per pupil spending in Utah and other places oftentimes has an inverse relationship with the number of students. I think anyone can understand, logically follow the idea that an Alpine school district that has 80,000 students, there's a cost benefit there. And those large districts come in at the lower per pupil spending value than the small districts do. The district that spends the most money, and Alpine, I believe, and we can get you this chart, Alpine, I believe, is somewhere in the $8,000 range, and that's including M&O and capital. The district that spends the most money is Daggett School District. They have 173 students in the district, and they spend close to $24,000 per student. As I said, Wasatch fits about in the middle of the 41 districts, and when you include capital and maintenance and operation, that's somewhere in the $11,000 range, and that's where they should fall because of the numbers of students that we have. We're a 7,000 student school district, soon to be 8 or 9, and that puts us about right in line with where we should be at the state. Further, and in important aspect is there is a chart. You can find it on the Utah Taxpayers Association's website, where they rank school districts by the amount of per pupil expenditure that actually goes to classroom instruction. And we are ranked number 2 in the state, with 72% of our M&O budget being tied somehow or indirectly to, and I'm not sure how they come up with that. It's their chart, and I'm just reporting what they've found. 72% of our M&O budget goes to the classroom in some way. There are districts that are down in the 50s. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but we know that that's published, and that's something that we do know from our own audits that we do each year. That our auditors tell us the same thing, that we are a district with a large share of our M&O budget going towards instruction. So I can tell you, working with these gentlemen and Keith Johansson, the number one word that you will hear Keith Johansson use in Wasatch County School District is no. He's in charge of the budget. The principals will all attest to this. The directors will attest to this. There's lots of good ideas and things floating around, and if it's not in the budget, Keith does a very good job of managing that, and obviously everyone as a group does a very good job, and I will stand behind the decisions that have been made educationally and the spending of our taxpayer dollars. So just wanted to share that. Thank you.
So just a couple more, or go ahead.
I was just going to answer your question, make sure that we got through your questions. So we split the schools today. There would be 2 4A schools, approximately around 1,400 kids. 3 years from now, if the school is built and finalized, there will be over 3,000 students there. With the boundaries, you would have half the teachers go to the new school, along with half of the students. And so that's our target, is to have 2 4A schools around 1,400 students. And then if I remember as I walked through, that chart does give the median home in Wasatch County is, I think it's 525,000, 562. And what is that for that home? 264. 264. So hopefully that answers your question.
100,000 is just to help with easy math. It's really certainly not for us to figure any $100,000 homes.
But did we answer your questions?
You got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
My name is Cameron Brown, 2330 South, 400 East. And I've just been kind of absorbing a lot of comments said tonight, and I go back to why I moved to Heber City. The biggest part of my family leaving California was the school district and the fact that it was falling apart. It was very poorly managed, and we needed a better place for our kids to grow up. So I still have 3 kids in school, and as I look at the challenges before you guys, I first of all acknowledge that your elected officials, we've, as a group, have already placed our trust in you. And so I think it's also worth pointing out that it's really kind of easy to criticize a decision, much more simple than it is to come to a decision and put it before the public for consideration. So I do admire the steps that you've taken, and the fact that we're here having an open conversation about what the concerns are. I've been involved in construction most of my life, and one thing I know of for sure is that today's construction dollars will always be cheaper than tomorrow's. And with the writing on the wall, the way the valley's growing, developments that are already approved, just waiting for developers to pull the trigger, start grading land and building more homes, I don't see a good reason to delay an obvious need. And sure, we could add portables at the high school, we could add portables at the middle schools and at the elementaries. Those cost money too, and all they are is punting on the elephant on the table, the future need that we actually have. So I put my trust in when I voted, and I stand behind your bond proposal as well.
Hi, my name is Michelle Kendall, and I live at 71 West Farm Springs Road in Midway. We moved here because it was beautiful. We did not move here for the schools. Our son's education actually suffered coming here from Lone Peak High School. I've looked at some of the statistics where Lone Peak is ranked 15. You guys are ranked 57 on one of the websites. And I think that small schools, I know that you all are in favor of it. And I think that there's still small town politics, even with extracurricular activities. And I don't think that building smaller schools is always the answer. And just as an example, my son took statistics this past year, and there was less than 15 kids in his class, which is less than 2%, or no, less than 3% of the graduating class. Because he said, Mom, guess what? I get to wear a special pin at graduation. There's only about 10 of us that get to wear that because we did all 4 years of the math that was the highest math. So I think that I understand your reasoning of there's more opportunities, and I can see what you're saying, but I feel like my 3 older kids had just as many opportunities in the bigger schools as they did in the smaller schools. And I'm sure this won't change your opinion, but I just wanted it to be stated that, you know, if you want to have really great increased education, you're going to need the AP classes. And if you don't have the education that supports those classes to be taught because of the numbers, then that's going to be a downfall. And when I went to the last meeting, you know, you were touting how great the ACT scores were, and the average ACT score can even come close to getting kids into BYU, for example, which is right around the corner. So I think that besides doing the fluff of the beautiful schools, I think that there really needs to be a push on higher of having education and preparing students for those next opportunities.